The next person signed up to speak is John Crane. John, thank you for being here, and you will have 5 minutes as well.
Thank you, Senator Long and members of the committee, for allowing me the opportunity to speak on behalf of the marriage amendment this afternoon. I come before you today not with a law degree or with a large corporation or organization standing behind me, but simply as a husband and a father of 4 small children and a lifelong fellow citizen of our great state. I'm also someone who has gay family members and friends, so this issue is very personal to me. In fact, before going any further, I would just like to say to those in the gay community, I'm truly sorry. I know that there are many of you who've been hurt and wounded, often by the words and actions of those of us who stand on the opposite side of this issue, and for that, I ask for your forgiveness. There are a lot of decent, very sincere people on both sides of this debate. Today, I want to speak to 2 specific concerns that I have, the first of which has to do with a very unsettling movement afoot to undermine our First Amendment rights. Though we live under the protection of our Bill of Rights, what were once held virtually sacred, the rights such as freedom of speech and freedom of religious expression, have been threatened by the advancement of the marriage equality movement in our nation. And that is of genuine concern to those of us who cherish the ability to practice our religious faith as we see fit, or to be able to speak freely on matters of conscience. This is not merely a theoretical concern. There are, in fact, a growing number of actual cases where good people, our fellow citizens, are being forced to violate their own conscience. Increasingly, the establishment of non-discrimination laws, often driven by the pro-gay agenda, have put good folks in terribly difficult positions. On the one hand, they're asking themselves, do I violate my deeply held convictions, or do I strive to uphold my beliefs and suffer the punishment that will invariably follow? We've heard about the cases that have become more prominent in places like New Mexico and Vermont, Kentucky, Hawaii, and other places. And we are even seeing that concern unfold here in Indiana. In 2010, you may recall the owners of a small family business, Just Cookies, here in Indianapolis, came under tremendous fire for their refusal to fill an order for rainbow-colored cupcakes for a gay rights student group at IUPUI. Their reasoning was simply that to do so violated their moral convictions. Regardless of whether you agree with their moral position or not, their right to uphold their personal values should be of concern to all of us. I work with a number of high-caliber student leaders here in the state of Indiana, and just last year, Nick, who was then a high school junior, shared this story with me from his public speaking class. The students were asked to do a persuasive speech on the topic of their choosing. When Nick submitted his topic, which happened to be advocating against gay marriage, he was told that he needed to get special permission from the administration just to give the speech. Ironically, it was because of the thoughtful way that Nick approached this very sensitive topic that his teacher actually voted him Student of the Month. But his story gave me great pause. How have we come to a point where even expressing divergent points of view is now considered offensive? Is this the kind of acceptance and tolerance that we hear so often preached? In fact, the erosion of these bedrock constitutional principles creates a crack in our foundation that, if left unchecked, will be the cause of our own eventual undoing, regardless of our political persuasion or sexual orientation. This brings me to my second point about whether or not the people of Indiana should be allowed to amend our Constitution. There are those in our legislature who would keep Hoosiers from voting on marriage. Why? As a citizen of Indiana, I have yet to hear our leaders plainly tell me why we shouldn't be allowed to vote on this issue. At the end of the day, we Hoosiers may choose not to amend or add the marriage amendment to our Constitution. If that happens, so be it. But we must let the process run its course. It is to our Indiana Constitution that each member of this body swore an oath. I simply ask that you honor that commitment, regardless of where you may personally stand on the issue of marriage. I stand before you as a representative of the most important constituency in the room, the good people of Indiana. As you know, a recent survey found that over 80% of Hoosiers want a chance to vote. I am that 80%. I am here as a voice of the over 3.6 million registered voters that simply want a chance to speak. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you for your testimony today.
Thank you.
Next person signed up to speak is Pastor Mel Jackson from Indiana.